What is up, gang? It is I, Carlton Flowers, your crypto pro.
Yay!
And we've got to get in a Bitcoin and overall market update today because, boy, I tell you what, did we ever get fooled since that last video? So today we're going to talk about that and discuss the probabilities of where the market goes from here and show where I believe Bitcoin has the most likely landing spot if the correction continues. But before we begin, I must remind you that this is not financial advice. Anything I say in this video can and will cause you to become a completely broke, destitute bum living out of a garbage can. Okay, that being said, we can move on and look at the chart. In the last video, we were talking about the fact that Bitcoin fooled us. We had this little dip, this correction that happened, and once we got to the bottom, where we touched on the 50 EMA line, instead of continuing downward, we flipped up, and we almost took out the previous all-time high. But lo and behold, we thought we were wrong, but we were right. So just as soon as we thought we were going to eclipse the all-time high, we got rejected pretty hard here. We had a hammer candle, this one right here, that has the stem, the wick, and the flat top. And then two red candles that closed on the one-day chart. Now we have another hammer that we're looking at right here. So what in the world is going on? Well, we're still staring at this hard stochastic turnover. This is a rollover. It's almost like a very, very hard, more of a pivot than a rollover, where we immediately got rejected after we went into the overbought zone. So the momentum is going down, even though we did wick back up to the current price of 105,719. So what happens from here? Well, there is one previous support and resistance zone that has popped up on this chart a lot, and you can see it represented by this dashed blue line. And that just happens to be at a price of 101,747, somewhere around there. Now, all indications right now tell us that we're probably going to at least touch to that line or drop below. So let's just kind of flip around here and look backwards and then look forward at the 1 week chart so we can see what the possibilities are. So moving backwards, we look at the 4-hour chart and we bounced right here off of the 200 EMA line on the 4-hour candles. The stochastic looks pretty bullish here. It looked like it was going to flip over, but then the blue line jumped back up. But when you see the stochastic rising strong and price doesn't rise strong, that kind of tells you that this momentum is weak and that you're probably going to continue to correct. Well, let's back it up another time slot here to the 1 hour. 1 hour candles, same thing. We had the quick pivot and now it looks bullish. But while we got this bullish flip, what's price doing? It's not coming up too much. Now let's expand this up a little bit so we can see it. And we see that we're at this current big volume node at 105. And then we've got this one up above at 107. And then the point of control at 109. But we're already nearly in the overbought zone. So I don't know if we've got enough momentum to break through the 50 EMA and the 200 EMA on this 1 hour chart. So let's back it up one more slot. Here we are on the 30-minute, and it looks like the blue line is still moving up, but it's kind of curling over, which again tells us that when we go from this point where the pivot happened right here to where we are now, we don't see too much of an increase in price right here. So that says that the current bullish movement is weak. Okay, now we can go back to the 1 day chart and then we'll look at the 1 week chart. So as we said before, it seems like this little recovery here is pretty weak. We had a nice dip down to the 50 EMA and it wicked right back up. And we're currently at the biggest node on the VPVR, volume profile visible range, at about 105. Now, when we look forward to the 1 week chart, we can get the big picture. So let's flip to the 1 week, and what do we see? Well, here we have it. We're still staring at this rollover on the stochastic. Look at that right there. So it rolled over, it kind of leveled off, and the blue line was touching on the orange line, but then it opened back up. So that tells me that maybe we continue the bearish momentum until possibly that we check down on this blue dashed line. And that blue dashed line is nothing more but previous support and resistance. Okay, so we saw a lot of action right here where we bumped our head on the blue line, we poked through. Then we blew straight through it, came back up, bumped our head on it again, stuck to it, went above it, and came right back to it. So when you see action happening at a particular price point, you know that that's a point where a lot of institutional trading goes on. So these automated bots are programmed to buy and sell at certain points, these pivot points. So that's why I'm looking at 101 as the next possible pivot point. So once we get down here, we'll see, is it going to be a 50-50? Or is it going to look like we'll touch down and zoom out of it? Well, once we get there, we'll look at the stochastic right here, and we'll determine, well, what is this thing looking like? How far down does it go before we get to that blue line? If we return all the way back down here at the bottom, and we're still at the blue line, we'll probably bounce up. However, if we return all the way down to oversold, and we break through this blue line, then we'll probably be testing this rising line, this purple line right here. We'll be testing this rising line, okay? And that just happens to be somewhere around 94,000. There was a lot of talk from the prognosticators that we were going to correct down to 91,000 in the month of June before we go to the next bullish romp. And then there will probably be one more correction. And then we hit into the fall where we'll experience the euphoria of the bull run. Now, what I'm doing is looking at a lot of alts that are correcting while Bitcoin is correcting. They're correcting a lot harder. Bitcoin is only down 1/10 of a percent, 100th of a percent, but you can see alts, Ethereum down 3%, Solana 3.4%, XRP 2.5%, Kaspa sitting down at 6%, and what else do we have here? Litecoin 0.5%, Chainlink about 5%, so on and so forth. So based on that, I think that alts will probably float down a little bit more than what Bitcoin will if we touch down on this dashed blue line. So that means it's time to DCA. I'm going to be doing some dollar cost averaging and picking up all of the altcoins that I missed on the last run. Now, my rule is never buy into a run. Always buy when you are at the bottom of the stochastic cycle, down here. You don't buy when you're at the top of the stochastic cycle, unless you want to sit for a long time and wait through a correction. It's backwards thinking, contrarian thinking. You have to do the opposite of what conventional wisdom, the masses, the sheep. If you buy when the sheep buy, when they're all excited at a peak, then you get to sit and wait through a correction. If you buy when everyone else is scared and being shaken out of the market, well, then you get to watch your bags grow while everyone else is panicking and waiting for the next euphoric moment to buy. So that's how we play it, being smart. Now let's look down here at the MACD, and we see that the oscillators are showing us this fast line is curling over, and it's probably going to cross over the slow line. And if that happens, we're probably going to see these bars on the histogram dip down into the negative territory for, say, 2 to 3 weeks. That's usually the time period of what we see during the correction movements. Okay, this one was about 3 to 4 weeks. This one, 2 to 3 weeks. The next one could be 2 to 3 weeks. And once we get to the bottom of that correction, we'll rip out for another run. So the MACD oscillators confirm what's going on. This one lags the stochastic. And then when you watch the histogram, you can tell if you start to dip down below the zero line, that confirms that you're in a time period of bearish movement. Now, overall, the whole market's going up. So even if you did buy up here at the peak, well, just sit and be patient and wait through the dip. If you bought up here in the overbought zone and you were hard-headed, instead of waiting to buy in the oversold zone. So that's what I think is going on right now. And I'm just happy to say that I thought I was wrong, but I was really right. We got faked out as soon as we thought that correction was going to gain strength. And then the market manipulators took advantage of the situation and ran the price up on Bitcoin. Now, how do they do that? You would think that if they buy or sell, that it would affect the order book on the exchanges, which determines the price, supply and demand. But the way that they manipulate the market is because they are buying off of the order book. They're calling up Coinbase or Kraken or Binance and they're saying, hey, I want to get 100 Bitcoin, but sell it to me in a private trade. Send it from your wallet, one wallet to the other, and it doesn't show up in the order book. So that's why you can see price going down and whales buying because it's not on the books. And then once they're good and ready to fool everyone and start a new buying frenzy, they start buying on the books and price goes up. That's how you get tricked. That's how the big institutional firms fool you out of your money, because it's their job to take money out of your pockets and put into their big institutional banks so that you can have your retirement portfolio to pay you your monthly dividends for the rest of your life. That's why they do this. They don't think you're smart enough to manage your own money. So when you get out there to gamble and get a leg up on the whole wide world, you end up losing more times than not if you're thinking like the sheep. So that's all I got for this one. You want to tick the notification bell, like and subscribe, because I will be getting into alts. We're going to look at XCN, we're going to look at Swift Coin, Caspa, a lot of the big projects, and as promised, I will keep you posted on the memes. We'll have a meme report very soon. Just let me know what you are most interested. Post it in the comments. That's all I got for now. This is Carlton, and I am out.